From the time I came home from the hospital, my family really encouraged my love of music. My dad, literally from the day I was born, was dancing with me in the living room to all of the great jazz musicians like Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra and Count Basie. I could whistle and play the kazoo before I could even talk. And I was always bringing out all of the pots and pans in the cupboards, making as much noise as possible, as much as possible. But even with all that, I was an extremely shy child. I hated going up on stage with the little kids' church choir. I hated being in front of anybody, anywhere. When I expressed interest in trying out for the cheerleading team for the local Little League, my parents were so excited and they really encouraged me to get out there and hoped that it would get me over my stage fright, which it did. But as I got older, there comes a certain point where the pressure to look perfect kind of takes precedence over the sport. I remember just feeling so much pressure to look a certain way, to be skinny enough, or to be muscular enough. I remember just hating myself, hating the way that I looked. I remember being in school and looking down at myself and at my legs and at my stomach and just being like, how could I be made this way? How could I ever be considered beautiful by anybody? After my parents had caught on to the fact that I was throwing away my lunches at school and faking like I wasn't hungry at dinner, they really sat me down and just kind of let me cry and let me let that loose, but also they were the ones to catch my tears. And I can't believe I'm crying. But what really helped is that they made sure that I knew that I was beautiful on the inside and that my heart and my soul and my being and that I was created for a purpose. They never stopped reminding me of that. So when I expressed interest in doing choir and musical theater at my high school, my parents were all about that. I tried out for the school play and the school choir, and I loved it. My choir rehearsals and my theater rehearsals were the things that I would look forward to the most during the day, and I would be so excited when I could go in and just let loose and sing. And that's also where I took my love of performing. And it was so great to be able to not only include this love of singing, but also that I was finally brave enough and confident enough to be able to perform in front of people. After, I started doing other kinds of music, I really started to create my own. And I wrote my first song at 15, and it was horrible, but it was fine because it got me started. After high school, I decided to come to Nashville to further my music career. And I decided to go to Belmont University. About a month after I started living in Nashville, I went to Memphis and got the chance to audition for The Voice on NBC. I got a call back, and then it was just a big waiting game until I heard anything else. Finally, I got the call from somebody with The Voice, and they asked me to come out and be part of their blind audition process, and it was so much fun. I got the opportunity to audition in front of the celebrity coaches, which were Blake Shelton and Adam Levine and Usher and Shakira. Unfortunately, no one turned around, and that was hard for me to deal with at first. But I came back to Nashville and I started writing and co-writing all the time, constantly, and eventually got enough to go into the studio and record. At this stage of life, I remember what my dad always used to tell me growing up whenever I would audition for anything or have to go up on stage. And what he told me before, everything that I did with the voice, I would go to him, I would say something like, "I'm so scared," and he would look at me and he would say, "Do you want to be brave?" And I would say, "Well, yeah, of course I want to be brave. Who doesn't want to be brave?" And he would say, "Well, that's perfect, because you can't be brave until you're scared." And so that's what I really want to tell, especially anybody who listens to my music. I just want them to not take the defeats like they're the end of the world. And whenever you're scared, to always remember that that's the only time that you get the chance to be brave.